What's going on, everybody? We're back with another video, and today I'm going to be going over transition. How do owners, board members, investors, how do they get from point A to point B in the management experience from where they're at to where they need to go? And I'm going to be recording my screen over here. As you can see, I got Microsoft Paint, the most basic platform to get across the most basic ideas of where you're at to where you need to go. So let's say you're an investor and you have a property and you're here, right? And let's get a few of your highlighted issues. You've got cash flow problems, you've got repairs and maintenance, you've got capital expenses, you've got turnover, you've got investor / partner problems. You've got a list of things that you are experiencing here with your investment, right? And you're trying to navigate this field. You're trying to get to still using Microsoft Paint sometimes is a little difficult. You're trying to get over here, right? This is the green. You're trying to get to, you're trying to get to a better lifestyle. You're trying to get to peace and quiet. You're trying to get to peace of mind. You're trying to get to, vacations or headache-free investment experience, right? You're trying to get to this quality of lifestyle that you believe that you're capable of getting there, right? So here's the problem that I have, having done this for well over a decade and just being amongst investors and investor mindsets for basically 30 plus years, basically my whole life. There is a huge mess that's in this centerpiece. It's kind of, you've got, it's like every scam, right? You've got the scalpers, you've got the scammers, you've got the people who try to sell on, who try to sell you on the thing you believe you need, right? These are the kinds of things that we're coming across. It's like, and it's actually pretty great because these guys pretty much do the work for us. Us as in essential management, because we're over here, right? We're over here providing the solutions, right? We're over here. This is essential management. We're providing the solutions you need, right? We're providing the solutions you need to get to this experience. There's no shortcut. You have to go here, right? With the information that we provide, with the experience, this is right here is information, experience. This is how do you get, again, from cash flow problems, repairs and maintenance problems, capital expenses problems, turnover and investor and partner problems. How do you get an idea of what that road is going to be like in order to get to this better lifestyle, peace and quiet, peace of mind, headache-free vacations, or just, hey, somebody can pick up the line on the other end and get me an idea of where my investment is at, right? So I wanted to focus on what's in this bubble, right? This orange bubble right here. What goes on here? The scalpers, the scammers, the people who try to sell you on the thing you believe the most, right? So that you could get that out of the way and make the solutions, get the experience, get the mindset of this is, this thing is more of what we need. This is more of what we need. This is more of what we need. This is more of what we need. How do investors get from this to this? We need to be aware of the road. It's like with any investment. there's going to be the things that get in the way of you making that experience. It's like any project. You have to get the quotes, you have to get the bids, you have to get the experience, you have to get out of the way of flying blind, right? So you have to gather this information. How do investors gather information about what this experience is going to look like for them? You got to do your research. I mean, you've got to be an informed investor. You have to have that experience to basically make that decision. So it's going to take some nights. You're going to be staying up, researching what property management companies do, researching what these basic needs, how do you satisfy these basic needs, right? Income and expenses, bookkeeping, building a budget, 12 months cash flow statements, monthly reports, getting an idea of what due diligence is. What is it that it takes? What is it that a manager does that can help my investment be productive so that I can gather the information on how to steer that ship? And without being so involved in the day-to-day activities, again, that's what management does. We take care of the day-to-day activities, get that stuff out of the way so that you can make decisions on how your property is going to look and feel like. What is it going to do for you? Again, as far as I'm concerned, investors are always looking for better lifestyle, peace and quiet. They're looking for peace of mind. They're looking for that headache-free investment experience. It's not always going to be headache-free, but how close can you get? Now it becomes a very interesting experience for an investor on how headache-free can I make this experience for myself. Now that some of the minutia of dealing with what being an investor means for people today, dealing with that kind of stuff is just automated by a management company, right? Such as us. Getting out of the way of the scalpers and the scammers, the people who are trying to sell you on the thing you believe you need. I mean, we come across this stuff all the time. And again, these companies are like a funnel of business for essential management. It's just terrible sellers, terrible management. And we try to tell people all the time, it's like, you're just looking for the guy who's going to sell you the best. You know, the guy with the suit and the tie, the guy who's going to come there and sell you the best. You know, imagine what that experience is like for an investor, right? So you got, let's say, 3 management companies. You got company A, company B, company C. And company A is a company like mine. We're very small, micromanaged, white glove experience, pretty much automated to the T. You get one person, or you get, 1 or 2 points of contacts that can get you an idea of where your property's at, run those reports, get you the numbers, get you the information that you need for you to make a decision, right? And then you've got company B. We're talking, mid-sized firm, probably about 40, 50 employees, maybe less, let's say between 5 and 50 employees, right? With a combination of virtual assistants and things like that, right? Because they're being sold on scalpers and scammers and people who are trying to make them believe. Because again, it's business. Everybody's an investor here. And they're trying to get also the thing that they believe they need, right? So they're hiring all this kind of stuff. They're doing all this stuff and going through their experience, much like you are with the scalpers and scammers, right? So you have all of that going on in company B. And it might be the experience that you need. It might be the lifestyle that they grant you to give you that experience, right? And then you've got company C. We're talking large size firm. We're talking, they're not pulling in anything under 150, 200 units per client. And I think a lot of what goes on in an investor's mindset, again, we're dealing with the landlords who have the portfolio, but they're looking for that lifestyle. They're looking for that shift in lifestyle, whether it's moving away from the management company that they currently have or moving away from self-management or some form of self-management. What is it that investor can gather in terms of information about each company to make a decision on who's a good fit? Well, the most important thing is, how do you do your reporting? What is that going to look like and feel like for me as an investor? How am I going to be able to get this information and process this information and how often should I be able to do that in order for me to get an idea of where this property is? It all starts with the budget, 100%. Like, if you have an interest in getting from point A to point B. You're with the cash flow, repairs and maintenance, capital expenses, problems. Like you're over here and you're trying to figure out how do you get to over here. The number one thing you need is a budget. You have to get the budget. If the numbers don't get right in the budget, you'll never make this journey. You'll never make that. The budget is the number one thing. I'm going to put that in capital letters up here. It is the budget. All right. So you got to get good at your budgeting. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable not to have your budget processed, have an idea of how your cash flow is working on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. It's unacceptable. You have to know what your incomes are and you have to know what your expenses are. And from there, you're going to be able to get an idea of how do you improve your income so that you could meet your expenses, or how do you lower your expenses so that you could keep your income where it's at. It's now becomes a more of the management of how do I get that done. So it starts with the budget. The most important thing an investor can do is get the idea of what the next 12 months of their property is going to look like, or in the current calendar year, what that 12 months is going to look like. How is that going to look and feel? How do you build that budget? Well, you have to have physical conditions. You have to have a good idea of what things are looking like in the property. What do your apartments look like? What do your units look like for condos and board members? What does your roofing system, how old is your roofing system? Are there any current leaks? Have there been any past leaks? What are the areas of concern? What are some of the physical conditions that you're familiar with? How do you build that into the budget? Again, you're talking basic operating expenses, which are going to be, your fire safety, your management fees, your building insurance, your office and administration costs, filing fees, accountant, utilities, these basic things, and some budgets for supplies and repairs and maintenance and porters and things like that. Those are your basic operating expenses. For the capital expenses, again, we're looking at roof, we're looking at drainage systems, we're looking at your EFIS or your siding issues, pointing, brick work, whatever it is, capital expenses that you're aware of, other things, depending on, again, this is all very basic. It depends on exactly what the property's like. You could add things like elevator, parapet inspections, local laws, compliance issues, things like that, for your operating expenses and or capital expenses, depending on how you budget. But from there, you'll know what exactly is going to happen in any given year. And we're doing this, literally every building that I have is a business, and we're running those budgets for those businesses. So we see these numbers daily. I mean, we're always looking at numbers. You have to know what your budget is like. I mean, some investors will think that, management company is going to just go ahead and do the budget. They're going to do the capital expenses. They're going to do the repairs and maintenance, and that they're just going to fly free. You see, that type of lifestyle, it's not this. Not hiring a manager and just disappearing from the show. It's not that. It's not the better lifestyle. It's not the peace and quiet. It's not the peace of mind. It's not the headache free. That's the scalper scammers. If you're hiring a management company and they're promising you that you can get this better lifestyle, peace and quiet, peace of mind, headache free investment experience, and they think that, selling you on that opportunity is something that you're going to invest in this opportunity with that property management company, and they're going to give you that, and you're just going to disappear. You're actually buying this. You're buying a scalper. You're buying a scammer. You're buying a person who's trying to sell you on the thing that you believe you need, because it doesn't exist. An uninformed investor is not a person who has a better lifestyle at all. You could know all your numbers. If you're not actively involved in your investment, making decisions, working hand in hand with your property manager, if you don't have your property manager, if you don't know your property manager's name and number, you got a problem. If you're not able to call your manager right now and say, hey, I want to pull out $10,000 out of my bank account for that property, I need to, make an investment over here. How much can I take out today? If that manager on that phone call cannot go, hey, let me put you on speaker real quick. Let me log into your account. Let me see what your cash flow is looking like. Let me see what your projection is looking like, and let me see what I can get done for you and how close I could get to 10 grand. You have an issue. This is the 21st century. If it's like, hey, call back between the hours of 9 and 5. Well, again, you don't want to be calling you don't want to be calling your investor, or an investor would have to have the the decency of, you know, protecting their property manager's mental well-being, their mental health. You know, don't call 3 a.m. with your new business idea. You know, it's like, I got to pull 50K out of this investment in order to go and invest in, you know, widgets over there. And I'm going to call my manager at 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, you know, am I that type of guy? I'm just like 3 a.m. I can just pull up my phone as quickly as I answered the phone and go ahead and get into my Appfolio property management software and check out what your balance sheet is looking like, which is your cash on hand. Again, our system updates automatically. Again, given the parameters of the investor actually giving us access to a bank account that's able to be linked to our software. But you know, that's when you're actually signed the contract. But you know, outside of that, you know, the most important thing is getting out of the way of these people trying to sell you this idea that you're going to disappear from your investment and you're just going to have the better lifestyle.